Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Kristen Brown, and today I want to share with you guys a story that is a personal story, and it's something that changed my life forever. The words that somebody spoke to me that were supposed to be so hateful, so controlling, so meant to shame me and to blame me and to harm me and to make me feel like that I was less than and I was problematic and that there was something terribly wrong with me were the very words that ended up saving my life. So this story takes place in about 2009. And I will tell you that I'm really foggy when it comes to dates during a certain area in my life because it was the most anxiety-ridden, fearful, scary, nerve-wracking, unknown time in my life. And I was a hot mess. I mean, emotionally, I was a hot mess because there was so much happening during that time. I call that time my tsunami. This happened in the midst of that. And I was married to my second husband, who was mentally, emotionally, and physically abusive. He had a substance abuse problems, and he was also an adulterer. So I had all of those peachy things going on in this relationship. And of course, being who I am, a person who loves people and tries to help people and save people, and I'm super compassionate and empathetic and loving and kind and giving and all of those things, I kept staying in this relationship until the relationship finally crashed and burned. He had an affair, he moved out, and he abandoned the family for 7 years, including his own daughter. So you know what type of individual I'm alluding to, right? A narcissistic individual. Now, I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose this person. However, I will say that all the boxes are checked. So in one of our last arguments, he said to me in a very hateful, mean, condescending, of course, raised voice type of way and with a finger pointing at me, he said, "You are the common denominator and you are going to have 2 divorces now." And he said this thing to me to hurt me, to make me feel like all of these things that I listed that I was calling him out on periodically throughout the relationship were not true, that I was invalid. And in true narcissistic fashion, he was trying to flip the script on me and he was trying to deflect from what he was doing and try to make it my fault because I was the person that was aiming for that healthy relationship. And I was talking about things and communicating, and we know how well that goes with a narcissist. So he said those words to me and I just fluffed them off. I was like, yeah, of course, just one more attempt to make me wrong and make me bad. And I did not think about those words again. They went in one ear and right out the other ear until probably about a year later, when I was standing at the foot of my bed on a random Wednesday at maybe 2 p.m. And this voice came into my head and it said, "You are the common denominator." And this voice was very neutral. It was very calm. And I've come to understand that this is the voice of God. However, it was reflecting the words that my ex said. So rather than thinking judgmentally or judging myself or judging him or replaying a past scenario, I didn't do any of those things. I just sat there and merely reflected on those words. You are the common denominator. And I asked myself, is that true? Am I the common denominator here? So I looked back on all of my relationship history and I'm like, of course, how could I not be the common denominator? I was the one variable that was present in every single one of these relationships. That makes me the common denominator. Then the voice in my head said, how were you treated in all those old relationships? And I sat there like a good student and I started to ponder that. So I went back to age 15 through 42 through my tsunami ex. I went through all of those relationships. I thought to myself, I've been cheated on. I was abused. I was disrespected. I was used. I was not appreciated. I was taken for granted. And the list went on. And then the voice said to me, now, how have you treated yourself that way? Again, I went back through all my relationships and I thought, I dishonored myself like this. I disrespected myself like that. I didn't protect myself here. I took myself for granted. I didn't value myself. And the list went on. And in that hot moment, I drew all these parallels and all these lines together. And I realized that all of these relationships that I had experienced for decades were reflections of the way I thought about and treated myself. The very words that were meant to harm me were the words that actually started my healing journey. But what happened after that is the most amazing part. In that moment, I had vowed to remain single and celibate for as long as it took to know that I was not going to repeat this pattern again. I didn't know if it was going to be 6 months, 6 years, or 25 years. I had no idea how long this was going to take. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have a therapist. I didn't even know what coaches were at this point, but I set course to heal. I didn't know how it was going to happen, where, when, what, who, what, how, blah, blah, blah. I had no idea. But what I did was I started to read inspirational literature, listen to inspirational videos. I was listening to things that uplifted me, tons of spiritual things. And what I did was every single time that something resonated in my heart, where I could feel the truth of it, because y'all know we got truth detectors. Okay. Just like we have built-in lie detectors, we have built-in truth detectors because we're spiritual, energetic beings. And we can tell the difference from capital T truth, universal truth of God, of universe, of source, and the difference between untruth. So every time something resonated in my heart, I not only absorbed it, but I studied it, I marinated on it, and I started to practice it. Once again, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know anything. I just knew I was never going to do that again. And when I say I was single and celibate, I didn't so much as have a coffee with a male person. One day when I was walking in the house after work and I had my bag on my shoulder and I was carrying some things and my cell phone went off, and I pulled my cell phone out, I looked at it, and it was a text from a guy that I dated briefly after my tsunami ex had left, because I thought nothing was wrong with me. I thought I was fine. I thought, yeah, okay, well, that jerk left. I'm good. I'm a healthy person. I treat people with kindness, love, respect, and all the good things. So I can just carry on and start dating again. So I started dating this guy briefly and I fell madly in love with him, head over heels. And he appeared to have done that with me until he started falling away and started ghosting me. And this sent me into a tailspin, because not only was my life falling apart, now I had this person that I thought was my lottery win. I thought he was the goods that I got after going through this hell. But it wasn't that way. He had pulled away too. And that really crushed me. So it was like back-to-back betrayals, back-to-back hurt. Plus, not only that, I thought he was a really great guy. So I wouldn't say obsessed in a way that I was stalking him or following him or blowing up his phone or anything, but I couldn't stop thinking about him. And I was just really, really hoping and praying that he would come back into my life. So when that cell phone rang, historically, over this past year, if that rang, or texted, I was like, oh my gosh, that's really exciting. Here he is. Maybe he wants to see me. Maybe he wants to get together. Maybe he's decided that I'm the magical unicorn that he's been looking for, guys, all that fun stuff that we think. And I looked at my phone and I shut it and I put it back in the clip on my waistband. I started to walk again until I stopped myself. And I went, oh my gosh, what just happened here? Why did I not respond? Why didn't I get excited? Why didn't I do any of the behaviors that I had done in the past when he had texted me? And once again, the voice came into my head and it said, because you have self-worth now, you know your value. So all of this work that I had done, all of these things that I had done started to show up. And this is why I often tell people, for all the self-healers out there, when you start to heal, there's not going to be a marching band. There's not going to be fanfare. There's not going to be streamers strewn through the city streets. It's just going to be these subtle shifts in the way you start to behave, because the foundation that you used to behave from is going to change, which is going to change the way you see life and behave. And what happened in that moment is, even though in the past I was willing to accept scraps from him, organically, I was not willing to accept scraps any longer, because I had healed my self-worth foundation. Very soon after that, I wrote a book. I became a coach. I started a blog, a podcast. I did all kinds of social media stuff. And then I started this YouTube channel not long ago. And recently, in April of 2023, I wrote my second book called The Recovering People Pleaser, a spiritual guide to reclaiming your true worth that's already there. It's just covered up with mud. It's already there. You don't have to cultivate it. You don't have to make it out of nothing. It's already there. And in this book, I talk about everything I did from start to finish to heal my inner world. I highly recommend this book to you. I've gotten so much amazing feedback to it. I'll put the link up here. You can pop that if you want to check it out. And it will also be in the description below. And if you're someone who wants to cut your learning curve on this process and you want to work with me one-on-one, I have a masterclass called the Self-Love to Soulmate Masterclass. It's a week laser focused class where you get a module every week and a workbook. And then we meet once a week as mentor and mentee, and we talk and go through all of the things. And to date, I have probably about a 90% success rate of the people who have gone through this course have broken through their dysfunctional relationship patterns and have moved on to attract a loving, kind, generous, and reciprocally respectful relationship. You can check that out here as well. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. If you enjoyed this episode, I would super appreciate a really big thumbs up. Don't forget to share with someone you love and leave me a comment below. I know everybody says this, all the YouTubers say it, but I read your comments. I love your comments. And until next time, remember, you matter. You were built worthy. And now it's time to turn into a self-healing superstar.